Hello, Truth Seekers. Lawrence here, and welcome to Easy Enlightenment. So, generally, people are control freak one way or another. This attitude is found from a childhood to a dying adult. Now, this attitude is there because it has brought that sense of stability and freedom, has given the hope of freedom. And because of that experience, this idea of control is reinforced in the person. And the source of prolonging this idea generally comes from our environment. At home, we are told to be in charge of your stuff, be in control. And school, we are taught in the same way. Be in charge, be in control. Basically our whole environment is teaching us to be in control. Now, there is a positive side of being in control, being in charge. Creating certain boundary is definitely good, as I said, for some level of stability and freedom, especially in the relative world. And also there's a negative side when the control attitude moves in a way that dominating the world, where the understanding, where the openness is not present. So in that sense, it doesn't help the person, and it doesn't help to create a better flow in the world with others. So there's a negative and positive aspect of control attitude. Now, when life is moving in that approach with that mentality, when the body is conditioned in that way, when the mind is conditioned in that way, when the emotion is conditioned in that way, the person is that. And when the person starts to realize that controlling is a self-implemented suffering, when the person realizes that controlling is a approach to invite a suffering to one's own life, and when the person starts to get interested in the freedom or spirituality, and when the person starts to involve in the, especially in the meditation path, to seek for the inner freedom, to seek for the truth, the person starts to bring the same control attitude in the spiritual path as well, not realizing that the true spirituality is about giving up the control, giving up all mental, emotional attachment. So in the beginning, yes, when we are associated with the spiritual practice, person will go through that phase of understanding and eventually gets the true reference that you must let go to be free. And the person starts to work on oneself, on understanding one's own mind. Why I attach to certain belief or certain ideas to run my life. If the recognition is there, then yes, the path can be open. The person can face towards the truth and work towards getting there, to realizing the true freedom. And that's the good thing about associating with the spirituality and working towards the goal. Now, most of the time, that's not the scenario. When life has become the controlling journey, the same conditioning is present in the meditation as well. Especially when you are involved in the technical part of the meditation, when you are given a technique. You love that, isn't it? You have that sense of anchoring point, that focal point, that you're not wandering. And from that control approach, definitely you are gaining that focus. You are pulling or withdrawing your focus towards yourself from any control approach of meditation. And a control approach meditation does help you again to invite stability, to anchor your awareness. And that's the goal of the technical meditation path. Now, what's the next step in meditation once you are anchored? The next step is about giving up the technique. The purpose of the technical practice is to stabilize you, to make you focus. But after focus, there's some more work to be done. And the more work, most of the time, is completely neglected. The ego is already happy that ego is associating with meditation, and being able to focus, being able to calm oneself through meditation is good enough. So that meditation itself is able to be in control. Do you see that? Meditation itself is done to be in control, to being in charge. So now the meditation is used to controls one body, to invite stability. But once you are focused, you are taking that back in the world to control the world again. Yeah, definitely in a positive way. But that's not the goal of the meditation. The goal of the real meditation is to understand why we control in the first place. Because of the controlling attitude, we are already suffering. And because of the suffering, we are associated with the spirituality to be free within. But that is completely neglected. We do meditation in a half-cooked approach way, and then we go back in the world to do a back and forth movement of happiness and suffering, happiness and pain, happiness and sadness. So there is no work of doing all the way to figure out the truth of oneself. When the truth is missing, the control attitude is there already. And what is that control attitude? Is the egotistical attitude. Ego's drama, ego's play. So after the technical meditation anchors you, the next phase of the meditation is to understand the nature of the mind, how the mind comes into existence, and how the mind becomes real as a false reality. Why one needs to examine the mind? Because mind is the source of all conflict. Mind is a source of fear. Mind is making you suffer. Everybody is identify themselves with the ideas, with certain preference, with the belief, and moving with that belief and controlling one's life with that belief. And there are highest beliefs that are present in the world. Like there's a career belief, there's a spirituality belief, and everybody is trying to match their life with the belief. And because of that belief, there's a control is present. So the belief is the source of the problem. And when the belief or the mind is the source of the problem, one must investigate the cause, the root cause of the problem. Especially when it comes to spiritual freedom, enlightenment, awakening to one's own true nature, self-examination, self-inquiry is the must. So, we're talking about control. Everybody is a control freak. Again, one way or another, there's that attitude present. So, to be free from the mind, or to not to struggle anymore in life, one must need to examine why one has that desire to control. Again, you will say that, oh, I need to control my life because, being in charge, being in control is the way to invite that sense of stability and freedom. Yes, you are correct. In the physical world, there needs to be certain boundary to live life. When it comes to spiritual freedom, this positive aspect of life needs to be investigated all the way to figure out the root cause of the control attitude. The root cause itself is an ingrained belief that is reinforced by our experience, which is the positive experience. Now, once you figure out the root cause of the suffering, that root has to be dismantled all the way until nothing is left. One must need to investigate further until until no mind is left. If the root is not dismantled, if it's not examined all the way until nothing is left, what happens is the life will still trigger from that place. So people do self-inquiry, self-examine the suffering. Once the people starts to figure out the root cause of the suffering, that's where people give up. Oh, I see the root cause of the suffering now. What I need to do is positive reinforcement. And this is it's a shortcut. Positive reinforcement is a shortcut if the root is not dismantled, because the positive reinforcement doesn't dissolve that inner drama, doesn't dissolve the inner conflict, doesn't dissolve the fear. If you see your fear conflict is dissolved through the positive reinforcement, it's momentary. If you see it's permanent, then wait for it. You will see that your positive reinforcement doesn't work. Just wait. Life has its own way to provide you a situation that you will see that the fear is still there. The conflict is still there. And when the conflict is still there, especially the fear, makes you control more. So if you're not able to let go the root cause of the suffering, that itself is a fear. Fear is making you latch onto the root, consciously or subconsciously. There is that attachment. And if it's ignored, if the root is ignored, the freedom is not there. The control attitude will be continuously there, and the control attitude goes in uncontrolled flow that person is making oneself suffer and making the environment suffer. And that is not the way to live life. So spiritual freedom is about investigating all the way to figure out the root cause of the suffering, and also eliminating root altogether with dismantling the mind, by understanding the nature of the mind. So anyway, how to understand the nature of the mind is by tracing the mind backward. So we're talking about control. There is a level of control in your life. Now you today ask yourself, why do I have this urge to control? You are in a certain situation right now in your life. Whatever is that, there is a attitude of control. There's urge to control. Now, ask yourself, why do I have this urge to control? Logically, there's an answer. Because I see control is needed to invite stability and freedom. Yes, in the outer world, you see that. That's why you control. But don't just rely on that. Be open to go further than that. Don't rely on anyone's answer why the control is needed, why the control is good or bad. Don't rely on anyone's answer. You figure out for yourself why you control, why you have this urge to control yourself and the world. Why? Let that why help you to figure out the answer. And whatever answer starts to resurface, now trace that answer. I use that answer to trace back further to figure out the root. Okay, and also need to dismantle the root. So that's the simple approach to figure out the inner truth. And once the truth is seen, then there is that once the truth is seen, that you see things as they are, and then you just align with what is needed in your life rather than becoming the control freak. So control freak is a self implemented approach to bring suffering in life. So if you don't want to suffer, self-inquiry, my friend. Okay, I hope this video makes sense to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now. Bye.